Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We did have a little bit of an extended break. There did end up being no losers interview, so I don't have anyone with us. Don't worry, there's not a hidden voice here. It is just me and Rude, and we're about to guide you guys into the fourth out of 5 games today. And honestly, this game has potential to be a quick clap or a hidden banger. I'm gonna be honest. Verdant, the 1-4 team, but the roster is too good to be 1-4. And then Lundqvist, a strong roster which can play through all lanes, just dominating their opponents for the time being, and they're 4-1.
Yeah, and with, as you say, 4-1, we've got opposite scores coming out, opposite ends of the table. Effectively here, first versus last. Obviously, there are different people tied on different scores. But Lundqvist is going to be looking to now try and match up against Munster after they took their win. And of course, we've got Verdant looking to create this half of the team, half the table that would be on 2-4 at the end of the evening here if Verdant are able to take this win. Obviously, they've got some fairly big names. So a lot of people were expecting Verdant to be a very well-placed squad. They've got former C9 Academy player in their support role. Like, this is not a team that we were expecting to see in the lower ends.
And that's the weird thing, because when you look at this roster, people rated highly on the tier list. Middlecut did, but he works on them, so I don't count that. I rated them highly on my tier list. Valkyrie, playing Prime League First Division. Keys, Telja, Master. Telja is British Norway champion up in the top lane. He was insane. Yes, I did put him a few ratings low because I don't know what this guy can do as jungle, but he was so good top that he must at the very least be good in jungle, right? And then Ericsson played NLC with Nordic. You just heard Kamara talk about that Ericsson was a good mid laner when they played in NLC Division 1. Nordvent finished third in the spring with Ericsson on the team. Then you have Draconium. He's been very good so far. The no-name coming in, surprising everyone. And then, as you said, Winter, Cloud9 Academy, Optic Academy. This roster should not be 1-4, but they just haven't clicked.
It really shouldn't. And I'm glad that you bring up Draconian, because for me, he has been a bit of a shining point for this Verdant squad. We saw him, just on Tuesday, his team fighting was absolutely stupendous. Did obviously end up losing that game, but the sort of positioning from Draconian so far has certainly impressed me. Of course, they're coming up against Lundqvist Lightside here, who ultimately have the best accolade here in touch. Currently, has been second in Love Island Norwegian, and so
That's a big
that's
achievement.
I mean,
Throw that on the CV.
how do you compete with that? Obviously, he's been to Worlds, right? We've got these other accolades, maybe less important.
Less important than Love
Went
Island.
exactly. He went to Worlds with Dark Passage in 2014. So it's this guy's been in the scene for a long time. He knows his way around the support role and knows his way around a game of League of Legends. So there's plenty here to touch on for this squad, because they also have this insane amount of synergy around their top side of the map as well.
Yeah, the whole top side played together during Winter Showdown Sweden, and they did also clap every single opponent they faced. Svenne is the most interesting player there, in my opinion, being formerly a top laner, then swapped to support, had loads of success, won Telespa to Sweden, did qualify for NLC with Galaxy. Then got booted off that roster for some reason, but he managed to find another spot in the NLC and Garden. Not the greatest split from that organization, but he has NLC experience as a support. And then you think, okay, he did well as a support. He'll surely stay there, right? Nah, he just swapped back to top lane. And he's had lots of success there too. He's fun to watch. He plays tanks, but he also plays weird things. He's already whipped out the Singed in NLC, so can't wait to watch this guy play, honestly, back in the top lane. But then Svictor, he's just been solid all around at helping his both top and mid lane excel. The synergy between those three is so strong, and Fatty P has been clapping cheeks so far.
He really has. There's nothing really more to say other than that if this guy gets Corki, it's probably an auto loss once again. That's something that we want to see in this draft. Ban the Corki first off,
Please.
because that is something that we got to see last game. We don't want to see it again because this champ is just too strong. And then also to finish rounding out this Lundqvist Lightside squad, obviously Sana down in the bot side, it was good to see on Tuesday that Lundqvist Lightside can play to her, that she is a presence, and she got this jinx in their game on Tuesday. Absolutely tore it up, was able to be the carry force for Lundqvist, so I'm excited for wherever Lundqvist look to play their squad, look to play their composition through. There's the Corki ban. We don't have to worry about that anymore, but Corki, along with the Gwen, Twisted Fate, Caitlyn, and Jarvan all taken off the board. Global presence removed, and also a little bit of a suggestion that Verdant might want to go for a hyper carry for Draconium if there isn't a mobile AD carry to play. They're going to be in a good spot. Also, maybe some PTSD from Tuesday's game when we actually got to see Fluing really destroy on the Jarvan. It was Shafty that just destroyed Verdant with the Jarvan last game.
Man broke ankles, and with the corgi band coming in, the Sari is open for the first time today. Looking dead into those eyes, I can see it being locked in, and that is exciting. Draconium gets to speed around on the Rift, can be played in other positions, but not to nearly as much success. It's going to be Draconium's, and I am excited to see what this man will do on the champion.
Yeah, I've seen this champion every single role, so I'm not going to put out any assertions just yet. We'll have to wait and see where it ends up going. Likely, as you mentioned, going to beat Draconium, and I think that coming into this, people are still trying to figure out how to beat Zeri, because it can be very difficult. You know, trying to get in range is something that isn't necessarily the most easy thing to do. So Victor goes for the or we go for Leona's Xin Zhao. Here, Xin Zhao obviously going to be fairly high priority. Honestly, I would quite like a Morgana. I don't think it's going to get locked in, but Morgana on Zeri just seems like Black Shield would be absolutely incredible. We'll have to, get into that one a little bit later. But so far for Lundqvist, they've got themselves such a strong core of Leona's Xin Zhao that whoever the AD carry is, whoever they're diving onto, is going to feel pain.
Yeah, so far so good for the countering of a Sari. Winter gets his hands on the rail, and I think that is a smart choice, someone with a bit broader skill shots that are easier to connect with, considering, we saw him last game against Flink, didn't have a good early game, he missed so many hooks, and obviously the high ping does play an effect, considering he is an NA import, yet to be imported into Europe. So he's sitting from home, just struggling with that 160 ping. If you've ever played on PBE, that's what Winter feels right now when he plays competitive. Imagine how tough that is. As that Akali get blocks, then that is super exciting, by the way.
Could still be Turbo Chem Tank, though it did get nerfed, but even so, Akali still a very scary presence to try and go up against. In fact, he's going to take us off the Vigor early here, so before we get round to those second round of bans, a little bit of dive threat reduced here to make sure that this Akali, if she gets pinned in the baby cage, she doesn't have any blinks necessarily to get out, despite all of the dashes. She is still fairly susceptible to being punished with that baby cage. Second round of bans yet to come through. We're looking at Lundqvist to try and take away some more topside presence. The jungle hasn't been locked in just yet. Hecarim taken away. Expect maybe the Viego as well to be removed. Things like the Lee Sin still do exist, so that could be an option as well. For Verdant on the flip side, they've got their top laner and likely their AD carry to get locked in as well. There's a chance that Sena takes Veigar down into the bot lane. Could well, again, be that answer to the Zeri. But you can already see the AD carry pool being pinched to make sure that Sena doesn't have that same success on the Jinx.
Exactly. Yesterday we saw Sona, she is able to carry as well, but so far the split she has mostly played towards the weak side and helping her team out. And she does like to play the mages. She's played things like Swain and Sig, so it wouldn't be a surprise to see her add the Vega to that collection, honestly.
This is a really good Vega flex angle, yeah.
As you said, it could definitely happen towards the bot lane. It is almost perfect because I feel like it is a pretty good counter with the Leona. So much CC, there's no way Sarian gets the chance to speed up to that 1000 plus movement speed.
And Ornn taken away as well here then by Verdant. Not going to give Svene that weak side top that they may well be looking for. And I think that here this just has to be, I would like to see this still just be their top laner to keep that flex capability open, just because they also, on Verdant's side, they've got the chance to double flex their Akali, can go top lane, can go mid lane. So Lundqvist, they kind of want to keep the safety at least of the Akali lane regardless of where they go. It is going to be Sion on the top side, so still a tank taken away, and again suggests that we're looking toward this bot lane. So often when you see a Leona, could be paired with something like an Ezreal so that you can facilitate roams and allow the Leona to really feel free in her roams around the map and set up for success. And with the Veigar potentially as a bot laner, that could still be the case. I love the Trundle lock-in just as an answer because you put that subjugate onto the tank and you are a tanky boy yourself.
That is the power of Trundle. You're a tank? No, I'm a tank.
And
he just flips the script around. Yeah, real. So everything that they could have possibly wanted, the top laner is going to be locked in here, as it is Valkyrie yet again on a champion with engage and carry potential. Valkyrie, someone who is very good at playing these damage dealers, as we look towards Lundqvist Lightside's last pick. Touch. What are you liking in here? Is it the Veigar for Sena? Or does she get to play an actual AD carry? Swapping around a bit, now looking more towards the AD carries, but can obviously change at any second. It is the Sire, so Sena will be getting her hands on an AD carry.
I'm glad that this has turned into an ADC pick here, despite the fact that Veigar would be a really good flex. The top lane pick for Lightside doesn't offer them a whole load of physical damage, so If this was, you know, a typical AP mid laner, they'd have been relying exclusively on Victor for their physical damage, which I think up against this Verdant squad could have been fairly challenging for them. So this AD carry pickup here is certainly going to be fairly useful, as well as her innate safety. You're able to fairly easily immune Magnet Storm if you're able to call that timing out. And there's also a world where this is a different style of Xayah as well. I expect that versus Zeri, that's maybe not going to be the case, but if you go for the Qmax plus Aerie plus Eclipse and Tia style of build, you can just play at, you know, max Q range on Xayah, and you never let Zeri get into your range, and you do a lot of damage once you get that Eclipse on through. The poke away of lethality really does start to speak to you. Have to wait and see though which it's going to be. It really is. It really is, because
I'm very hyped for this. I really think that this game could be the first game today to really go the distance. Because yes, last game did technically go to an Elder Drake, but that game was done way before the Elder Drake could even become a reality for any of the teams. Honestly, there's no way we get invited on here. We get 5 games and all of them are storms, right? We gotta get one exciting, back and forth, thrilling games, because honestly, the 3 teams winning today, as you said in the break, they are not confused if they're winning or not. They know that they're ahead. They know what to do, and they have been clinical at that. I believe this game could be what changed that. Verdant, have they found their stride? Have they found a way to play the game? Have they started reading the same book instead of reading 5 different adventures and just grouping up on one instead?
Yeah, I think that this is, you know, obviously the question needs to be answered. We all knew that this wasn't going to, or we all thought rather, this wasn't a 1-4 squad, isn't a squad that's supposed to be near the bottom of the table. And that sort of creates this element of a lot of fear, honestly, in my eyes, where they can just turn it on at any given moment. And we've seen now that it's not just Verdant that can turn it on from the bottom. We saw Ube take a win earlier up against what could have been a fairly scary Domino squad. And it could be the resurgence of bottom tier teams, and the way that the standings are looking right now. If Verdant take this one, I think we'll end up with 4 or 5 teams that are all sat on the same record. So if we get that at the end of week 3, that's obviously a very exciting position to be in, and it goes to show you that maybe strength of schedule might not really exist here. I think that this is actually going to be a very important matchup to define where Lundqvist Lightside are, whether they are at the top or whether they are going to be sort of that middling team. Because Munster Rugby Gaming, I think they've set themselves apart, and now we get that chance to see whether or not Lundqvist Lightside are going to be able to join them there.
It is honestly kind of beautiful, because just like the LPL, we don't know who are winning, honestly. It can change every single split. It can change between the weeks. And that's what we're seeing so far. OB did not look good in week 1 and 2. They smurfed it in week number 3, beating natives. Fling, we still don't really know what to expect from these guys. Verdant, they're just absolutely losing it. They don't know how to play League of Legends. But then yesterday against Fling, they played some good League of Legends for some parts of the game. But others, not so much. And Verdant, I feel like they have nothing to lose anymore. They're 1-4. Their expectation of being a top 2 team is gone. Play without regrets. Play with confidence, as Keys is confident enough to go in and take that one more.
So it gets a little bit of vision denial here. That's not going to mean all that much unless they decide to opt in for a late invade, but up against a Scion, that is just disaster waiting to happen. It's worth noting as well that for Sena, she is going to be opting into this Longsword plus Aerie combo starter. So it is likely to be the Eclipse plus Tier and poke-oriented style of build.
Winter spotted out. That feels bad as he looked for the surprise engage. The few feathers would just catch him in the wrong position. Could obviously still go for it with the regroup with his horse. Yeah, they have level advantage, or they will get it if they continue pressuring like this. A good auto attack from Draconium as we take our eyes towards the jungler for just a brief second of time. So they're both on the top side. No one is anywhere near to try and interfere with this potential matchup.
But they're both passing toward the bot side here.
Yeah. Svicta is the closest one, because Kisi's full clearing Crocs have been skipped. Svicta straight on towards the ground. He wants to be able to help out his team if there is a fight towards the bot lane.
This is the route for fast level 3 here. Svicta likely to get 3 off this Gromp and then work his way straight down toward the bot lane. Could well be that fast 3. Fortunately, Draconium stuck that ward up nice and early. Means that he is going to be spotted out should he go for it. Hits level 3, but not opting to run down to this bot side. And it's actually Keys maybe looking to try and get a bit of an invade. He's got bot lane priority, and you can already see that Winter's moving his way forward.
But Svictor looks for both him and the blue buff. Will he be able to take a Q smite? There he goes. 100 gold and a blue buff in his pocket. Throws out the game over emote. Maybe a bit too preemptively, considering the fact that we're only 3 minutes into the game. But hey, a dub is a dub.
It is, and just a little bit of bot prio has enabled a 3 buff here for Keys, so an exceptionally well played start thus far for Verdant. It's only a slight advantage, and don't get me wrong, it is by no means, as the emote would suggest, game over, but it is a nice advantage going the way of Keys. He slows down his own pathing a little bit here, so he's going to be a little bit behind in terms of the camps he's taken, but he may well just look to base here off the back of the crab and get himself his item, but it's actually going to be a potential clear on his bot side, which could give Zvictor a bit of a lead in terms of tempo, because he's going to be able to go back to his jungle, clear just one camp as opposed to the 3 here that Keys is going to have, and then be back out on the map a little bit sooner. We'll have to wait and see what Keys opts to do in terms of how much of this bot side he's going to clear and how fast he gets back out onto the rift, because if he gets his full clear and gets back out onto the map before Zvictor has done anything, then that's absolutely fine, because he's got way more gold in his back pocket, but we just have to wait and see here. This next minute of jungle pathing could be very important.
Talking about the next minute, I also want to talk about objectives, because in just 50 seconds, we will have a Mountain Drake conquering the rift for the time being. So, in terms of both this Drake, but also the upcoming Herald in 3 minutes, which of these junglers are looking the most likely to get help with their lanes and get the priority and be able to walk in and start taking the objectives? As a fight breaks out, don't even get the chance to answer, because Touch might be dead, the Zenith Blade misses, and the pillar is huge! First blood through Draconium, and he is starting to already snowball. Sari is weak in the early game, and if she snowballs that, you don't want to see her later on.
Yeah, so there's a reason Sari has been banned away from the pretty much competitive scene in general. This champion's scary, and the later the game gets, the scarier she gets as such. So getting first blood onto Draconium, exactly what Verdant will be looking for, and I imagine could well be a decisive factor should Verdant now go away and, win this game. It's also going to extend even further into Keys sealing away yet another camp. He's yet to take a recall just yet, but he's got 4 camps essentially over his counterpart, because it's not just the 2 camps that he's collected for himself, it's the 2 camps that he's stealing away. He's got his entire top side now to go and collect, whereas Victor has, yes, found himself a reset. None of the lanes are in a position to gank. Top lane's fully pushed in. Verdant are likely here to try and take a base, but if Sena keeps on holding this could open the chance here, open the channels for Zvictor to make his way down.
So, now the Drake is obviously on the map. As we're talking about the junglers, we'll continue to look at them and what they decide to do. Zvictor looks to rush it up towards the top side. Not anything he can get. His whole jungle is good. Might just try and go for a desperate lane gank or hold the wave, as Fatty P is recalling out of mana, can TP back, Scuttle spawning in a few seconds, and that will be the decision. Bot lane has been pushing, and that means that Ericsson with his mid lane priority can also rotate down. Keys can safely start taking the streak.
Yeah, he decides to go for the dragon over his topside jungle, so electing to use the little lead that he had his bot lane established with him with Winter's Roams to now sort of forego that CS advantage for the time being and collect a Drake for himself. It means that he sort of loses the slight advantage that he had in exchange for giving the team a nice little boost in terms of those bonus resistances, which honestly later on will mean something. Right now, fairly negligible.
Keys does have the pillar, but Zvictor is also here. None of these mid laners know that their opposing jungler is here until Keys now just shows up and shows himself on the wave. Fatty P could look to burst him here alongside Zvictor. Primordial Burst is available.
Nice.
Baby Cage and good night to Keys. One more auto will do it. Ericsson, do you fancy re-engage? Hopefully not. And he doesn't have a Kali Syndrome and doesn't take the Shuriken Flip.
Really good punish here. No flash on Keys means that Lightside are able to put themselves a fight in.
Valkyrie goes on to watch Fatty P, but you don't have a team here. Winter is rotating up, and there is no support from Touch yet. He's just in the mid lane. Zvictor could get taken down. Here comes the perfect execution. 5-point strike, and everything comes through from Ericsson. The champion is there, and it is beautifully played. 1 kill back into the favor of Verdant.
Okay, so punishing the slight overextension then from Lightside. The first roam from Winter, certainly the powerful impact that makes the difference. Touch not quick enough to respond to that one. Now, there is an opportunity for a potential play in the mid lane since Sena has pushed in that bot wave, but it looks like Draconium is going to happily collect that and not lose anything for it. Overall, a really good response from the Verdant side after having lost their jungler. And Fatty P obviously getting that assist. Want to quickly just point out that the combo necessarily from him was a little bit delayed, a little bit off necessarily. He hit that cage and then fires his ulti before the damage from the W came down, and it's only a slight thing. It could have just been because he was fearful of Flash having not communicated it, but you want to use your Veigar ulti at the very end of your combo. The way this champion works is that the ultimate is an execute, so the less HP that the enemy has, the more damage your ultimate does. Means that if you're ulting prior to that W going through, you're effectively losing 50 to 100 HP off of the ulti spell damage.
So 8 minutes in, that means Herald on the map. Svicta and Sven are rotating down, do not want to give it away for 3. What is he doing all the way over there? I did not
That guy's
expect
in
that.
Narnia.
He's out experiencing the world. He's tired of the little Herald, but Svicta will be able to take down this guy. Might look towards the Herald as well, as they do have the priority in top lane for now, as Valkyrie's looking to push out the wave.
And the way that also Veigar's wave clear, of course, tends to work, you want to be last hitting with Q, and when you hit level 9, you're able to get away with that. You know, your Q clears backline minions as long as you're not horrendously far behind. Looks like they're setting up for something down on that bot side. We have got touch.
The storm used.
Guess the bone plating, and yeah, I think that was just maybe just an engage from Winter, I guess, that nothing happens from, but Key's able to steal away this blue quite easily.
Yeah, touch, looking for love, hits up Keys, but I don't think you have his number, buddy. A good blade caller, however, and Winter is low, doesn't go down, touch falls. Sena, no ultimate, no way out of this one. Flash, exhaust burn, but it doesn't even matter. Keys takes it, and that's 2 free kills. Verdant, looking better than they have so far.
Really strong early game from them here. They had this last time out up against Fluing on Tuesday. Now we have to see whether they can continue and then capitalize on it even more, so they don't want to lose out on this game as they did in the Tuesday one. But when you're flying in there as touch, you have to be fearful of Trundle Rel and the stat drain that these guys have. Subjugate comes down onto touch, and when he loses Aftershock plus Eclipse, he probably had negative armor in that instance, right? You become the epitome of Sona, a caster minion, in terms of your tankiness, and when those buffs fall off, he does just get absolutely shredded. Sena, of course, put in some good damage, but Winter was saving the fall down, the Ferromancy, which gives you a shield as well, so there was never really any threat on to Winter in that instance, despite the initial source of burst was absolutely fine throughout.
So 10 minutes in, there is a second Drake spawning in 50 seconds. We'll look at that as we also look towards where the next fight might be. For now, Svicta is hovering around this mid lane, also stepping up, throwing down the Herald. Do they go for the dive as Ericsson does get taken quite low? Primordial Burst is available. I think Ericsson needs to respect this. Yeah, as you say, they can. And then at the very least, get 3 plates.
With no Shroud, that was looking ever present. Like, that could have actually came through. But obviously Baby Cage not being available means it's a little bit more difficult. With Flash plus ult on Ericsson, the escapability of an Akali, ever the issue, really, with the champion. And not able to find the kill, in fact, especially with Wind becomes some slightly going wide. You don't have that full burst of damage and the ease of execution onto the Akali. I want to quickly point out here that Keys has extended that CS lead once again. Was, you know, a little bit ahead in the early game, but that got neutralized as the Drake came up. Got himself currently a 5 camp lead, effectively a full clear over his counterpart, and now with another Drake alive, he could well just go look to take this one. They can see that Svicta is sat in the mid lane trying to find a kill there. It looks like the presence from the junglers, Svicta's not on the Drake, and it looks like as Verdant push their way in on the bot lane, they're going to be able to quite easily roam their way into the jungle and take away this dragon once again.
So Svicta, he's like, no, you're taking my Drake. Well, I'll take your wolves. As a response, and he manages to get those, maybe even a Grump. As a consolation prize, Valkyrie will beat in that a bit of CS, but the TP from Ericsson, Fatty P shows himself. Event Horizon does actually connect on Ericsson. And now they might look to go on towards Fatty P, but they do know the Svicta is there. So obviously they don't go for the 2v3. As now Keys senses that his wolves have been taken, and he gets revenge.
Yep, you take mine, I'll take yours. They even leave, well, I thought they were going to leave a little one for you know, the sake of it. Looks like Keys hasn't, whereas Victor actually did, so going back to clear those in a little bit of time may not be what Keys is hoping for. But at the end of the day, it's still a nice lead for Verdant right now. 1.3k in the lead. They've also got themselves a couple of Drakes on the board. We're working towards a Cloud Soul, which in this game itself is going to be fairly scary for the for Verdant to have and for Lightside to go up against. Should that be the eventuality, Ericsson with your ulti is going to be just dancing around as though Carly didn't have enough mobility. A little bit extra always going to help, and Draconian with the Cloud Soul, that seems like nightmare fuel.
Wow. Draconium already with the Trinity Force as well. He's strong.
Yeah.
Trust me, that is scary. Scary at this part of the game, and that's why they decide to engage in the 1v2. He can't even hit his autos, but he hits. That feels weird to say because I'm about to say he does hit his auto, but that's his spell auto, not the Q auto.
Yeah.
But he hit that, and that was already like, what, 30% of Zaina's HP alongside the engage from Winter, so that's an easy way to get some good poke, I guess, as the Event Horizon connects. Do they have the damage on the keys? Does have the subjugates who could get very tanky, but can't quite throw it out, and he's taken down. Touch CC's up Ericsson, but he's dancing around in the shroud, dancing away from his former teammate Touch. Can't quite lock him up.
Yeah, just a little bit delayed from Keys on all counts right there. The Pillar doesn't immune the Scion ulti. The Subjugate doesn't come through so that he would live all of the burst damage coming through. So Keys does get taken out, and Lightside able to find themselves another kill here, a little bit more in their back pocket to slowly but surely close up that gap. We're even looking down on the bot lane constantly, saying that she's pushing in this wave, and it's Verdant that is sat ready to receive it in a situation where you expect Verdant to have the lead, have that advantage. A little bit strange, maybe, to see them play with such respect. Winter, of course, getting a little bit chunked on out with the Eclipse in Saina's back pocket. This is when she can really dish out that poke. 1 QE combo onto an AD carry here, roughly 300-400 damage.
Now, Rude, do you realize we are about to be 50 minutes into this game, and the goal lead is not even 2k?
I do.
We were about to get a close game. I can't believe it. Hopefully, I don't want to cast a curse. And so, in Denmark we say 7-9, 7, 9, 13. I don't know if that works in other countries as well. I might be in a bad area, but Key certainly is in an area he shouldn't be in. Event Horizon is juked away from Does Have the Flash. Tries to hold on, but Victor forces him to use it. Drake up in 2 minutes, so won't be up for that one. There's also Herald in less than 1 minute.
It'll be interesting to see where or which teams are looking to prioritize it. You can see currently that Ericsson just comes up. He's going to resume control of this top lane. And that's actually brutal. I want to draw your attention to the amount of stacks on Valkyrie's Cull right now. And then that's it. But Lundqvist Lightside could be in trouble.
Does have Flash, so does Victor. Event Horizon buys so much space. It is a very nice ability. Anyway, though, as we are hitting that second Herald of the game, it is up. Ericsson was around there but didn't quite take it. It looks to be the control, but topside is in favor of Verdant, as Lightside are throwing every single resource they have down towards clearing the bot side jungle and getting a turret for Zaina.
Look at Look at what Verdant are losing for this, though. They're losing out on that first brick gold. They're going to be giving up all of their bot side camps as well. I have to wait and see what they can get with this Herald, but currently it's not been worth it thus far because they've had somebody farming mid lane, somebody farming top lane, where unfortunately Verdant's swap wasn't well timed enough to facilitate the defense of the bot lane tier 1 turret. And they're going to come out, I would say, at the back end of this trade. If the Drake goes over to Lightside as well, that's going to be something that is a bit of a misstep, honestly, overall. If they're able to put this Herald down and then get down to the Drake in time, then great. But it looks like Lightside, they're quite happy to now sacrifice this top lane. And outside of losing their tier 2, which looks to be a bit of a concern, they should be fine.
Everything is going well so far. In terms of getting the long game, at least both teams have made some good calls. Both teams have made some bad trades. So the game still very much alive. Now the Herald instantly thrown down. Ericsson will get some gold into his back pocket. A good carry to rely on. The NLC player, the one who had success with his former teammate Touch, now on the opposing side. First time they meet against each other since leaving Nordwind.
And they can't really allow Fatty P to defend this. This is good from Verdant to force him actually off the turret. 300 gold for each, the Trundle and the Akali. But it is going to be that trade of Drake. They do get a tier 1 and tier 2 turret on the top side. So the gold lead then back extended for Verdant, and overall giving over first brick in exchange for 2 turrets in a side lane actually worthwhile. A good trade for Verdant in the end that they're able to make good on. And that's always the gamble that you get with Heralds is, Okay, when taking this Herald, we're giving up X. Can we get Y and make Y be greater than X? Can we get more from our exchange with the Herald than they got for us taking it? And Verdant here, they make good on the play, they make good on that bet, and they get themselves more.
So up towards the top side is Zaina and Touch getting vision and control. Might even look to steal away a blue, but Winter and Keys is rotating up, so potentially a bit of a scrap there, but Lightside look to back away. This game very slow compared to the former games. It is a game of interest as they trade. Okay, you get a turret, we get something else. You get 2 turrets in the top lane, we trade that for the Drake and now you so point. Now we get a top in the top lane, a turret in the top lane, a top in the top lane, turret in the top lane, and then what does Verdant get? That's what we're looking at here. Maybe a turret in the bot lane, but Svenna looks to defend it with his life.
This is a good time for us to have a look at what these teams are going to be looking to do overall during the later stages of this game, because it's very clear that this game is going to go at least a little bit of the distance here. It's going to be a lot longer than we've seen thus far from matches. And I want my eyes are permanently going to be on Draconium in these team fights, because this is like, I think, one of our first Zeris out in the NLC stage as well, to see what Draconium can do. I know it's been played a little bit, but have to wait and see what the full strength of this champion looks like, whether that be in full 5v5 team fights, or if Verdant can play to this 1-4 style that has been facilitated. They can even go 1-3-1 with this composition, because they've got Akali and Camille in side lanes who are so potent. I want to draw your attention to the level discrepancy between the... Never mind.
Yeah, let's just look at the fight instead. Touch does have the flash and find his way out for now. Here it comes, the unstoppable onslaught. 1 kill already gone. The ultimate has been popped from Draconium as he looks to deal out the damage and build up the movement speed, but instantly a disengage from Zaina, and the fight looks to be over 1-0 in favor of Lightside.
Yeah, and they do burn TP on Fatty P as well to get that one going. Ericsson still has that, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Verdant squad transition their pieces around the board if they want to put the Akali down opposite the objective, which at the minute is going to be, Baron spawning in about 7 seconds, but Drake spawning in 2.5. I don't know that the Baron is going to be too highly prized an objective for Verdant, so keep your Akali on the top side and hopefully keep her split pushing, keep her applying the pressure as best as possible.
So, I am very happy with how this game is going as someone who likes close, even games, but even for me, this game is starting to feel a bit odd. I'm kind of unsure how to feel about the way this game is going, honestly, because I don't really know who's set to win the late game, and that's what I am going to ask you, Rude, because who really has the outscaling? I'm not sure, honestly. I think both teams have great scaling.
Zeri does very well, and I think that with this style of Xayah build, it plays entirely differently, so it's difficult to comment on the scaling of this sort of lethality Xayah versus the scaling is just slightly worse, unfortunately, but it is easier to execute, and with the range that this Xayah has, becomes a lot easier to play, and range at the current meta so useful.
These could get taken down, Subjugate not quite available. Blade Caller does pretty okay damage considering that is the build Zaina is going for. Down towards the bot lane. Yeah, nothing happens.
This Xayah build is more oriented around the Blade Callers and around using your Q to poke people out here. Want to draw your attention quickly to some level discrepancies between both ADC and mid lane, since they are actually very important when we head into these fights. It's effectively 500 gold per level that you are missing out on in terms of base statistics. So that, in addition to the 3,000 gold lead that we've got, that you can see the intangible gold difference between the 2 level disadvantages that we've highlighted between mid and now 2 levels in the AD carries, since Draconium is just farming up a storm where Zaina unfortunately hasn't been able to do the same thing. We've got those intangibles of what we're starting to get as well, of bonus attack damage coming from the Infernal Dragon, as well as the level discrepancies. The gold lead may only look to be about 3,000, but what we're getting in terms of gold value from levels plus dragons is actually quite a lot more for Verdant. And if there's a team fight to be had soon, differences, they should be able to come out on top.
And seconds, the Q shot, but the pillar denies everything. Keys flash away, a good engage from Winter. He hits those even without being on land. Now Ericsson dashes in, perfect execution. Bye-bye Zaina, and bye-bye Lightside. Draconium with the lightning crash, stacking up the movement speed, ramping up the damage. Draconium takes down Touch, Valkyrie takes down the rest of Lightside. And Verdant, that was a beautiful team fight.
Oh, triple kill for Draconian. We said coming into this that he was the one to keep your eyes on, and shows us exactly why. Drake is of no concern to them right now. Baron is on the cards, and Verdant with a complete ace. They only lose Winter and looking to find yet another upset here on the day. Valkyrie not even bothered to go over. They can maximize their outcome, their amount of gold that they're going to generate here. 2 turrets plus a Baron. It may be a little bit greedy, and we'll have to see if they can make it happen. They've sacrificed the mid-tier 1 for now, because you can see Saina and Touch, they're respawned, and they're going to try and look to find a contest.
Yeah, Keys is pretty low, so TP in from Valkyrie just to ensure this goes down. No way they steal this. Touch might be able to get enraged, but it could only be a Zenith Blade, and the chance of that stealing the Baron would be less than a percentage. Anyway, though, Zenith will be able to pick up the Drake, and they look to respawn by taking down the mid-tier 1 as well. I can hear Middlecourt cheering, but I can also hear Yake, the owner of Lightside, crying right now. He was in the Twitch chat before. I don't know if he's watching this, because I hope he closed his eyes for that play, because not a good fight for Lightside. Though, I would say they got a good response.
I think the Verdant there got a little bit too ice big for their belly in terms of the objectives that they wanted to go for. They did end up getting with the Baron, and that is the main objective that they needed. But having gone for also, you know, the tier 2, the tier 1 in mid lane, and then not getting the Drake as well, they could have probably just gone Drake into Baron as a 4-man unit and gotten away with it. It is being nitpicky, but at the end of the day, if they're going to try and close out this game, they would have loved to have a soul at their back pocket to do that. Now with the Baron, getting these turrets will be a lot easier. Obviously, Valkyrie in that side lane, we've seen him have his run of Svene for the last 2-3 minutes or so when they've been in that bot lane together. Now with the Baron at his back, that's going to be even easier. And you can actually see, this is really nice from Ericsson, just the shadowing that he's putting down is more than enough to facilitate a split push and effectively allow for this Scion to not really do a whole lot.
I wholeheartedly agree, especially about the Drake thing, because I think Verdant should prioritize the Cloud Drake pretty high this game. I think especially the bot lane really benefit from it. We already know how fast Sarah can be. Imagine, first of all, the movement speed you get with the Cloud Drake, but also the movement speed you get when you ult with your Cloud Drake. Both Winter will have such an easy time engaging, and Draconian will have such an easy time kiting around, getting the shots, getting the damage, and just shredding through Lundqvist Lightside. So not prioritizing that might have been a mistake, but for now, it doesn't matter. 7k goal lead. Verdant looking for that second victory.
That's 1 turret down in the bot lane here. If they can crack open these last 2 outside of the base, that's probably Baron well done. They've got another minute to make it work, and it looks like they've dedicated Ericsson to... Oh, rather, they've just got 1 outside the base, excuse me, but looks like they've dedicated Ericsson to be that side laner, whilst the rest of them group up as 4 and try and take this mid lane tier 2. You can see the poke from Saina is trying to do work here, but unfortunately not quite hitting the right targets, allows Draconian to step up, allows that tier 2 to fall, and allows for Verdant to have completed their outer base assault.
And our story of Verdant not being a 1-4 team is really showing, considering they're 7k gold ahead against a 4-1 team. It looks like they're finally starting to click a little bit. Maybe it's just the Sarah that is broken, but I also think there's actually Verdant that has played a good game. They have picked the right fight. And I'm gonna be honest, Winter has had a disappointing split. Obviously the ping does make an impact, and you have to take that into account. But ever since the second half of that Flint game, which I know isn't a lot, it's only about a game now, but he has been smurfing. He smurfed at the latter stages of the Flint game. He has been smurfing his engages so far, and might be able to really play with that 160 ping now. It might have just been experience he needed with the high ping, knowing how to adapt to it.
The reverse of a honeymoon phase, effectively.
Exactly.
The adjustment phase, right, where you're just getting used to having to, overcome these difficulties. And there's a case to be made that ping doesn't make a difference. I think Quas made it to Challenger on 200 ping when he was playing from Venezuela. I know that that's certainly something that we could or could not discuss. But either way, Winter this game at the very least has been stepping up big time for the Verdant squad. Currently, though, is 50% of the team's deaths. So, I mean, criticism where we give it, it is, of course, a rel going forward is part of your job dying. Unfortunately, likely to be a part of that as well. For now, though, we've got a Drake spawning in about 90 seconds. There's nothing on the board for either of these two teams to take right now. And with no Baron for Verdant, they don't feel particularly comfortable finding the push forward, finding the turrets necessarily easily. You can see they're doing their little bits here. They've got the bot side of the jungle pretty much on lockdown, and they're taking away those camps from Zvictor, denying that even more once again. But The top side of the map is still fairly red side oriented, still lit up. You can see the vision toggle, or the vision control rather, for Lightside on that top side of Summoner's Rift is fairly safe, which means that for Valkyrie, he can't be pushing, he can't be pressuring, and can't put his really foot to the floor against Vene because he's too scared of the complete darkness that Verdant are seeing on that top side jungle.
So with all this pressure and all this gold lead that Verdant has gained, does that mean that Lightside doesn't have any way to contest this next Drake, which
Yeah.
is the sole point for both teams?
You would imagine that Lightside don't want to take this fight. The gold that that Verdant generated from the turrets being taken off of the Baron should be enough, and you can see that they're actually, attempting to make a bit of a cross-map play onto Valkyrie. They're going to come in from this top side of the jungle at the very least, but Draconium, he's more than safe here with Winter nearby. There shouldn't be too much of an issue, and Valkyrie has even left that top lane now to try and make a bit of an effort, just in case there was something to be said by Lightside in this mid lane. I don't know, as you can see. They're going to get this Drake for free. They're sacrificing this for setup around the Baron. And already, you can see Valkyrie, he's roamed from top lane all the way down to the bot lane. He knows he's got TP, he knows he is the stronger split pusher. And whilst Verdant looks to try and set up around the Baron, it's going to be Valkyrie who sets himself up down in the bot lane to keep that wave pushed all the way in, and a constant source of pressure on the light side members.
So, in terms of damage, it's pretty clear to see where it's from on Verdant. It is Ericsson and it's Draconium. Valkyrie can also get something out, but he's not the main man this singular game. So, for Lightside, none of their carries are really that fit. Who am I looking at to carry this fight? Is it the lethality pokes Sire, or is it 30p? Who am I looking at? And how do they even play it?
Yeah, it's a great question. The issue here is that you're looking at people that aren't going to be dishing out the most damage in terms of that consistent manner. Obviously, Draconium in this stage is going to be dishing out way more and just out DPSing pretty much everybody on Lightside. For Lightside, their real goal, I suppose, hope, is that they can find a pick onto either Draconium or Ericsson or one of those hyper carries, because Veigar, we've reached the point where Veigar's mid-game peaks probably dropped off a little bit, since you're only likely to find hard 5 versus 5 team fights, and unless you can find that pick situation, Veigar not the greatest team fighter. With the Rabadons in his back pocket though, he will still be able to one-shot somebody, right? If Draconium gets caught up in a snare, likelihood is that despite the slightly bruiser-esque style of his build path, that his HP with the lack of magic resist will not be enough to survive. But a full fat TP burst, that is. He's still not level 16 quite yet on the Veigar, so when he hits that, it's going to be even scarier. The 100 to 0% chance certainly there. But the Scion's certainly not going to be a damage threat for the time being.
He's so tanky, even the Camille has a hard time dealing damage to him. Obviously, with time, the Presume Protocol does a lot of true damage, but more on that later. The Baron has been started. Victor, a 50-50, he has vision. Why have Verdant taking this? I'm not too sure, but nonetheless, they are 4 items with Draconium. Maybe that's why, because they fancy their chance of winning the team fight afterwards anyway. Let's take a look though. 4k HP dropping. Eyes on Victor. As you say, Keys just smited. Keys just died, but Winter gets the engage and a good CC on Ericsson. But is it enough? The Baron is resetting, but the TP in from Sven by so much time, so much space. Flash is out for now. Keys looks for the re-engage. Sane has to flash away. Ericsson could go in with a Shuriken flip, but Keys is gone. That's the smite away. Now though, Valkyrie looks for the fight. Oh, it's such a split one as Victor fighting Valkyrie on one side. Draconium firing burst fire after burst fire into the front line, but can't quite sweat through it. No one from Lightside dies, and they get Keys.
I'm baffled. Verdant really trying to give that game away in that instance, because they started the Baron and then we smited a little bit too early. Credit to Lightside, honestly though, because they are playing these team fights exceptionally well. They're allowing Verdant to run into them and just take and just dishing out the damage when Verdant are charging at them. Xayah as a champion, build regardless, is an exceptionally strong AD carry when kiting backwards, because you can pull feathers through everybody, and particularly with this Blade Caller damage, Xayah, with the Q poke that's going to be coming out, you can dish out a fair amount of damage, particularly in those choke points in the jungle. But Verdant, they're trying to force fights, and unfortunately, they haven't quite found the correct engages to start it out and set it up properly. Keys loses his GA in that exchange as well, and it gives Lightside a little bit of a reprieve right here. Likelihood is that we see this Baron, maybe left alone a little bit. Verdant most likely going to head toward this Drake. Winter.
Someone who's not being left alone is Winter. forced to crash down to safety. The unstoppable onslaught comes in, but it doesn't really matter because Keys is pretty tanky. The subjugate is available, but not even needs to be used. Valkyrie goes in, hookshot wall dive, the re-engage from charge. Keys is tanky. What a shield! Winter hits them all with the magnet storm. Ping doesn't matter because this guy is too good, and Verdant is just cleaning up the rift. Triple kill, quadra kill for Draconium. Could have been a Penta, but scumbag Ericsson steals it away, and Verdant improve their score to 2-4.
Winter finds the engage that they were looking for. We said they need to find it. They need to get in and find Lightside, and that's exactly what Winter can do. It dives into the backline, takes down all 5 members of Lightside, the quadra for Draconium, and their turrets stand no chance. An excellent fight, an excellent game, and Verdant, they quashed the sort of fears, I suppose, of their late game woes. And they're able to take themselves the game here. That one fight in the mid lane, all it ended up taking for the game to just go into their favor. A really sketchy little 2 minutes right there, but they're able to come out on top in the end.
Look, I'm going to start counting because I do believe we now have 5 teams. Get that right. Half of this league is now stuck at 2-4 in terms of their win-loss record. Verdant, OB, and Raid all winning their games today, beating the 2 teams at 2-3, make them both 2-4. That means we have 5 teams at the same score at the bottom of the standing. And honestly, all of these teams, now 2-4, have had their peaks, especially Raid, OB, and Verdant today, have all been really good. But special props to Verdant for beating one of the number 1 teams.
Yeah, and obviously Lightside there on the flip, not particularly having their greatest showing here. I think that a lot of core mistakes in terms of where they were laning opponent or where their laning assignments were going certainly showed a little bit, because they just randomly spawned into team fights with 2-3 level leads from time and time again, and Draconium was just farming up an absolute storm on that Zeri, you know, fully making minions just spawn on in for him to collect and get himself up to level 17 in that late game team fight where I think that we saw Sena, she was level 14 at the start of that. So the distinct difference here between levels really did shine through, and of course we have to credit Winter, because, you know, an engage like that wins you a game, you know, 9 times out of 10, and we hit one of the 9 this time out.
Honestly, Winter, what a turnaround from his honestly bad performances. He had bad performances, high ping, everything was going wrong. He was an NA import, haha. We just need to show NAs can be imported to Europe. It doesn't work. But man, this game shows a different story. If this was his first game, that was what I expected from him when he came in. I expected him to be one of the best supports in the league, and that game was immaculate. Anyway, though, we will throw it into a break. Then we will have 2 more interviews, of course, before we head into the last game. And trust me, I've been waiting for this one. It is Fling versus Natives. But more on that later. I'll hold off for now because we go into the break. Then we will be back with interviews. See you soon.